This is Israel's video about Diablo.
Hi, Scissorin here with another Diablo 4 video. I've now finished all that Early Access has to offer. I've played all the characters,
Oh, wow.
I've done all the content, except the Butcher. Never found him.
Wait, there's no corner this time.
But I've done the world boss, etc., and had a lot of fun.
That's where
and
he
I wanted
died.
to make a video about everything that the first weekend had to offer. There is a second one coming soon that'll also include the Necro and the Druid, and I'm looking forward to that. But one thing I found really crazy was how everyone is talking with certainty about Diablo, even though we've only had access to level 25.
Yep.
People are talking as if we've already seen everything. And while we can only talk
I've
about
said before, I think that with these mobs, again, they're going to be reusing these mobs for the whole game. If these mobs are annoying at low level, they're going to be annoying at high level. That's just how it is. That's how it was for Diablo 3. It's that simple.
what we've experienced so far, a lot just remains to be seen. So let's talk about what we have seen so far, what concerns I have, and what I hope is different in the full version of the game. So first, I'm going to cover the good points. Monster abilities, for the most part, are incredibly well telegraphed and easy to see. They're like very clear, good animations. There's like wind up, etc.
Yeah.
There were some exceptions to this in abilities.
I don't like this ability. This is the only ability, I think, in the entire game that I don't like.
And that is in conjunction with your own abilities. For example, sometimes your own ability, for example, Blizzard, can obfuscate something like a on-death animation.
So you're telling me that inside of a Blizzard game, the animation from one of the player's abilities will actively obscure a mechanic in the game? Oh, I don't know about that.
I'm not a big fan of on-death animations in-game. Generally, I like it that when I've killed the monster is dead. And I'm not a big fan of like, okay, well, 4 seconds afterwards, it's gonna detonate and one-shot my character. That's just a mechanic I've never been a big fan of.
I think that like really detonate dead in PoE is like really fucking brutal because it does a percentage of the or at least like some of the on death effects do a percentage of the total health of the NPC that died, which at high map levels can be just fucking brutal, and it'll just one shot any character. So it makes it like really not that fun to deal with. However, I do think that on death mechanics, such as like the fat boys, whenever you kill them, I do like them. And I would say that even the porcupines inside of PoE, I even don't hate them entirely because there are ways to play around them. For example, I think if you have corpse destruction or if you freeze them, the porcupines do not explode with the spikes. And there should be mechanics like that to counterplay on death. I think the problem with on death mechanics is that sometimes they're hard to see, and other times there's no outplay or counterplay to them, except for just get out of them.
People
Exploding
are,
counts?
and
Yeah,
that's
I don't
great.
remember.
However, one thing isn't the best telegraphed, or it's not that it's badly telegraphed, but auto attacks are very different than what I'm used to from some other games. So auto attacks in this almost seem inevitable, where they're like very, like the monster's auto attacks are very snippy, and it kind of feels like it's sort of inevitable damage.
Yeah, a lot of, yes, I think that's true.
For example, in Path of Exile or other games like Dark Souls, as long as you're like good at dodging, etc., it is like, you know, just running at an angle you generally won't.
Well, it's like with this guy, right? Is that most of what he does is he does different actual abilities.
Yeah.
Like you guys will see here.
There's so much
goes in the
speed and
last
stuff
phase.
that the auto attacks are
never mind.
just a lot more unavoidable. One
Yeah.
thing that's really good about Diablo 4 is that it's so easy to respec. So it's easy to figure out what abilities are good, how
It
do
will
they work
become
in
harder,
combination with
but
others.
I don't think it's going to be
and you do
super
have
hard.
free respecs up to level 15. This could probably be further, even as low as like 25 or 30, so that just early on in your character's development, you can freely pick and choose. But honestly, even when the respec does start costing something, it was pretty cheap anyway. The only
Yeah, I
thing
agree
that
with
was
that.
a little annoying with respecking was that you always need to have a certain amount of points to progress, right? You need 3 points in the first node or 2 points in the first node to access the second node.
Yeah.
And I think it is 3 nodes in the second node to access the third node. Now, if you just want to say you want to change your Hydra,
You want to change like your first one around, then you've got to take one from the bottom and then put it down in there, and then change it up there and put it into the top. Yeah, it's pretty annoying. I wish they had like a testing mode or something like that, like where it would be grayed out.
for Meteor or for Frozen Orb or something like that, you do actually have to like move points from the dependency up ahead and put it back, and you kind of have to, you know, go back and forth.
You have to respect 2 points for no reason.
An easy thing there would be that it just wouldn't let you apply the changes until the tree had all the requirements done.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's easy
that
solution.
Would be a nice,
totally
like, simple UI thing. It's not a huge deal, but it does get a little annoying to just go back and forth, back and forth. So next, let's talk about the enemy balance.
Yeah, we have that in WoW.
A lot of like smaller monsters and stuff, it's very, very easily dispatched. But a lot of the boss fights are actually giving you a challenge. Some have like intricate boss moves. They're very clearly telegraphed. You have to move around a lot. And they did copy paste some of the boss fights, so there wasn't always that much variety. But the ones that were different were like pretty different and interesting. And in the fights where you are getting swarmed by a lot of ads and stuff, there's usually quite a lot of them. Density is something I definitely want them to address a bit in the game, because sometimes there's loads and that's
it's feast and famine.
Fun and feels good.
Yeah.
And other times there's just extremely little, particularly around larger enemies sometimes. Ultimate skills can feel really awesome. Now, granted, some of them were a little lackluster. I'm referring to, for example, the sorcerer, like snake thing. That felt more like a utility skill and not so much as an ultimate. And while the ice skill also felt a little more on the utility side, it was really powerful and made a very big difference in combat. So, really excited to see more of these, especially like the Druid and Necro ones. And as the last thing for the good point, regardless of anything else and regardless of the bad points that I'm about to cover next, I had a really good time playing. I'm always going into games, not really comparing them instantly to other games.
I instantly do. If another game does something better, I'm like, why isn't it in this game? I'm going to be honest.
Because we're always wired to have favorites and be leaning towards certain ways. So when I go into a new game, I'm just sitting there thinking, am I having fun? That's the bottom line. That's the only thing that should matter when you're playing a video game. Am I having fun, and is my time well spent? And I had a really good time. I think I played somewhere between 20 and 30 hours this weekend. Had a good time.
It's good.
So, we're going to cover the bad points next, but for my part, Diablo 4 already seems like something I could enjoy for a few weeks every time it resets. And if this game keeps getting large content updates, and especially if it's even better with the full release, which I'm hoping it will be, it seems pretty good. With that being said, there are some
I don't know if Diablo is going to be a game that you can play all day, every day for like 2 years. I think that you're going to hit plateaus in the game and you're going to want to go to another game after the season is kind of done.
Issues, and some of these might be released by either fixes between the 2 weekends, or there is a few months until launch, so a lot of these things are very fixable and might even already be addressed in the full version of the game. The class imbalance, which is something I'm especially hoping is only a low-level issue, and obviously you can level with friends, so it could be similar to Diablo 2, where you're a barbarian, you're probably leveling with a Sorc early on.
I think it would be really cool if at the end of a world boss fight, somebody said they wanted damage meters. I wish that it would tell you, like in Lost Ark, but it would be on a player-by-player basis, what percentage of the boss's health you did. That would be really cool.
The class imbalance was crazy. Sorc is magnitude stronger.
I can't see that being a bad thing.
Some of this was just that we hadn't discovered builds yet. For example, we pretty early on found a Thorns build for the Barbarian that was quite strong.
Yeah, it was.
And we did find some things with Rogue that was very good as well, but Sorc was still just magnitude stronger than the other two. Not only does it have just extremely good kiting potential, which is very powerful in this game, but it has multiple barriers and even has access to cheat deaths in this early of the game. Like I said earlier, there is very high unavoidable damage, and this was especially...
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Sorcerer being the only class that has a cheat death. I'm sure this might change later on at higher levels, but if you're going to have one class with a cheat death, I think they should all have a cheat death.
Rough early on a Barbarian. Before you have things like Thorns, before you have like higher armor and more defense, you're getting absolutely slaughtered. I actually started my barbarian on softcore just in case, because I had heard so many bad things about the barbarian, and I didn't want to just constantly start over. And actually,
Yeah.
I definitely died a few times, but I actually died very early before I even had the option of gaining a barrier defense or anything. And it was just incredibly hard. And at this point, you're always like, you're trying out different things.
Yeah,
like,
because you can say, oh, this is early game, it doesn't matter. I think that's what makes it matter. I think it matters more, because if you're a barbarian and this is your first time playing the game, there are going to be people that get frustrated and they stop playing. Like, you can't expect people to invest, oh, just put 10 more hours into it. The fuck? Just make it good.
it works, and a lot of things I would just run into the monsters and I'm like, I'm getting murdered here.
Yeah, you're just getting your
all
ass
my
beat.
potions, I can't recover. I just have to disengage and run away. Whereas on the Sork, it was just like plink, plink, plink. Oh, they're
You just
XP,
click the
plink,
mobs that you want to
plink.
die.
Oh, more XP. Oh, they're dead.
First impression.
Oh,
is so
I have
important.
health potions.
Yeah.
I don't need them. Plink, plink, plink. So it was like such a different experience, especially early. And it might be that Barbarian just comes online a lot later, and that's not necessarily the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world, but it's bad. Every class should be fun to play. It's just not fun to play. There it is.
It just felt like such a crazy difference. One issue that, and a lot of these aren't like the end of the world, but I think something that would help Diablo, and especially like if anything is a weaker class, having skill loadouts. So maybe like respiking could be something that's a lot more friendly in Diablo. They're not really going for like insane complexity or insane difficulty anyway.
Not really.
So I don't see like a huge downside between having loadouts. You're about to fight the boss, you go to your single target, more tanky loadout. You're clear.
Oh, I actually, you know what? I kind of disagree with this. I don't think that you should ever interface with a menu inside of a dungeon in a perfect world. You should never want to use a menu inside of a dungeon. You should want to blast. You go into one dude, you killing his ass. You go into another dude, he's fucking dead. And then you go to the boss, you kill the fucking boss. Then after that, you see what the loot you got was. Oh shit, oh wow, that's a good thing. But looking at a menu, item swapping, quick swapping, nah. It should be good. You blast it. And like, think about this, right? Is like PoE, which is what Zizrain, that's like his main game. They actually solved this with the Deadeye. With the new ascendancy, or one of the new ascendancies, one of the new archer classes, is like that you can have GMPP, which is the like instead of one arrow you shoot 5 arrows, and also barrage, which is like a single target talent. I think it's the main one. You can have both of those at the same time because they acknowledge that having to swap inside of a menu, swap inside of a dungeon, a map, sucks. Yeah, I don't want to see any swapping. No swapping.
You go switch back to your like AoE loadout. The next issue, no move only, is something Blizzard for some reason has been incredibly.
I don't know why. Like, because PoE has a like, and people always, because I usually have that little sword on there in PoE. They're like, make it to move only, and I always don't do that until like I'm in red maps by that time. But yes, there should be a move only button. Absolutely.
Stubborn on, where people have ended up in past games having to use macros, having to have scroll wheel as their like way to move their character and things like that.
Just add WASD.
It's very, very weird to me.
Problem solved.
Every single other ARPG usually has a normal functioning move only.
Yeah.
And a lot of us were very excited because Diablo 4 in the options lets you have a force move only. But it's done in such an odd way. It's a little hard to describe without you trying it yourself, but as soon as you untick or ungroup the move only, now you have a move only, so mouse button 1 is force move, but now it is only force move, nothing else. That means you can't open doors, you can't pick up items, you can't interact with levers and switches. That's insanity, right? Because normally you want both. Normally we want mouse to be move, pick up items on the ground, and interact with basic shit. But in Diablo 4, it can be that, but then it's also casting your ability, and you're basically losing a skill slot. This was fine on the Sork because it was so incredibly strong, but You don't always want to give up a skill ability just for basic quality of life, and something I'm absolutely expecting and hoping will be
There's
fixed.
no reason not to have it.
But that's something I saw, which seems like such a small thing, but it really is a big thing, because it's incredibly frustrating.
Maybe they just do WASD and then solve this whole problem.
In Diablo 4, what damage you're receiving can be kind of hard to tell. Outside of a enemy having, you know, fire enchanted, etc. like that, which is labeled, and you do start learning
Yeah, you can tell that.
as
That's
you play.
good.
There'll be like a symbol below the monster. But it's outside of it being like, you know, a lightning thing or a fire thing, it's not always clear exactly what type of damage things are. Sometimes moves can look a little bit more generic. So having enemies be like either labeled or more visibly clear what they are, you know, like if you see a burning enemy that's on fire and it's causing fire moves, probably on fire, but a lot of things were a little bit harder to tell there. Some enemy skills felt a little weird or not necessarily balanced for every character.
Yeah.
So there's a blood priest thing, and it has like a grab. Like it almost feels like, you know, like a Tekken grab or something. Like it just reaches out and grabs you. And sometimes it was like very clearly missing and it just went like bloop, I missed. And another time it just like reached across really far and just like pulls me back, and I'm like,
You know what they should do? They should just put a graphic on the ground of where the grab's gonna be. Problem solved. Just put a graphic on the ground, just like every other good game. Put a red thing on the ground and show people what's going on. Immersion ruined? Immersion's ruined whenever I get grabbed by something I wasn't in. World of Warcraft has this problem, is that they have traded immersion for quality of life. Raiding in WoW sucks because there are blue effects on a blue floor with a blue character next to a Death Knight that's doing blue spells. I don't want to play a worse game because somebody thinks it's more immersive to not know what the fuck is going on. If it's such a problem for you, then have an option to turn it off. It's annoying.
what the hell? And stuns and grabs, at least at the levels we were, there wasn't really any counter to break out of them. Which on hardcore is very jarring. I would like dodge if it's on cooldown to be able to break out of that. Even a minigame, even if I had to do like some sort of...
I like how in Lost Ark, yeah, Lost Ark has minigames to break out of things. Like I saw in the Akan raid, if you, I think it's if you fucking get knocked into the water at a certain point, you have to press spacebar or press something a whole lot of times in order to get out of the water. Yeah, I think that's better. Also makes the game impossible for people with visual impairment. Yeah, it just makes it worse. Like, that's it. It just makes the game worse. Like, and here's the thing, right? Is like, I played Final Fantasy 14, and they have, like, super very clear visual indicators in every fight. And I played WoW. And I thought that at the beginning, oh, the visual indicators are cheesy, and it, like, takes away the immersion of the fight. After I played Final Fantasy 14 for a while, I actually appreciated it more and preferred it to the World of Warcraft version. Because, like, for example, there's a boss in WoW, and it's the last boss in Court of Stars. And this boss got nerfed by making one of his most dangerous abilities easier to see. This should never happen. It is bad design. I think that if the difficulty of a mechanic is based on a varying level of visibility, it is very much not a fun mechanic to overcome. You don't feel good whenever you beat it, and you only feel bad whenever you don't beat it. It sucks. You say this every day? Yeah, because I wanted to fucking change it.
Triangle or like anything on screen, like something to break out of being stunned or break out of being grabbed felt...
It's great for Lost Ark that they have also the knockdown protection, where like you get stunned and you have a 30-second you can roll out of a knockdown. It makes the game feel much more responsive.
Weird not to have. I ended up dying to this on my Sork, but apparently it's a lot worse on Barbarians. I was super under-leveled. Sork doesn't actually have an issue with this when it's appropriate leveled. But there is like a Stronghold Vampire, and it has like this crazy barrage of attacks, where you can see here, it is just absolutely shitting out projectiles. Well, it actually does that in melee range too. In a lot of games that have similar things, those attacks just wouldn't work or wouldn't be done while somebody is in melee. This one actually does, so a lot of our...
Well, it's again, this is what I'm saying, right? Is that you have an attack like this where if he's facing away from you, it's like almost impossible. Like, let's be real. Like, most people are not gonna be able to notice like he's doing this attack. It happens immediately. There's no like real tell for it. And also the things he's shooting are the exact same color as the ground. Come on. What is this? Why? Like, what the fuck is this? Like, why? What is it? It's like it's so much it's difficulty in the wrong place. Because, like, to me, like, you know what my solution to that is? Play ranged. That's it. Oh, this is annoying? I'll play ranged. Feels cheap. Yeah, it's cheap as fuck.
Like, standing in melee range, you know, walking around the enemy hitting, and then suddenly, brrr, you're gone, kid. Another thing that was particularly weird for the beta, obviously... Barbarian being showcased at such a power difference was weird, but also the fact that its level 15 quest for the masteries wasn't even doable in the beta. And that made it a little frustrating because it almost feels pointless to test it. It is a very large part, right? Sork basically gets this enchantment thing where you
and I'll also say, like, that doesn't... If a barbarian is not fun to play at level 8, that's a problem.
Have one skill that'll either automatically go off every now and again by conditions, Blizzard that'll just follow you every now and again, which is cool. And it already, that's why Stork was the most enjoyable, I find, because you're already thinking up all these ideas and like, oh man, that's a cool combo or that's a cool build. Whereas Barbarian, you're just like, man, I guess I'll go swords and everything will kill itself when they hit me. As a testing or hyping people up thing, that failed a little bit. Definitely maining Sork either way.
It hyped me up for playing Sork.
All in all, I had a very good time playing. Actually, a lot of people, I had some of my friends' chats open at the same time. I would see some people that would enter my chat and they would be like, why the fuck is anyone playing this dog shit game, you absolute shills? And then talking to them was pointless because 2 minutes or sometimes 5 minutes later, I would see that same person in another friend's chat. So basically all they're doing is they're going through every Twitch channel, sending a hateful message, and like this...
What is this? Is this your first day on Twitch? You didn't know this? Yeah, they're just losers. You just ban them. That's it. You just ban. It's easy.
Sort of like gaming activism.
Yeah, what do you guys say?
So fucking weird and so crazy. I could never imagine doing that. If I don't like a game,
because you're not a loser.
I just don't play it, right? Like, the only reason I make review videos to begin with is people keep asking me for my opinion. Very strange to me. Definitely my least favorite part of everything. I think it's just the unhealthy thing here is fans and haters. Just better to be somewhere in the middle. I had a good...
Yeah, of course. It's just yeah, they're just losers. Like, what? That's not like... I mean, you don't get mad at a dog for barking. It's a fucking dog. It's just a dog. Like, what do you expect? Like, it's the same thing with people like this. They're just losers. Like, what do you get? This is dumb as fuck. Like, who cares? I do too. I fucking hate loud dogs. I do, but you know what I'm saying.
Time. I'm hoping a lot of the issues I have is fixed. The more games we have, the better. I don't think it's going to be something I will main. I see this as being something that I will play for 1 to 2 weeks, maybe 4 weeks every launch. And if I get to cycle between like a D4...
I'm gonna be real. Like, if I can no-life a game for 4 fucking weeks every like 2 or 3 months, I'm gonna be happy. That's good.
CPOC and a PoE launch, That sounds amazing. Because regardless of depth of anything else, the first 2 weeks of a game, oh my god, I love resets. I love starting over. Absolutely, so much fun. So really looking forward to that. And not every game has to be the same difficulty or the complexity. So the more games we get, the better. And I do hope Blizzard fixes a lot of the issues. Either way, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Sub if you like it. Let me know your comments down below. But more importantly, try to die less than I do.
It doesn't matter though, but because he's playing this barbarian on softcore, because he knew. That's a pretty decent video. It's pretty well reasoned out, pretty middle of the road, a reasonable opinion. I like that. About passive barb skill, enemies cannot run away, instead cower in terror. Yeah, like a barb comes near an enemy and the enemy is like stunned permanently until the barb kills it. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Especially if so many good ARPGs to cycle through at the seasons, it's a good time to be an ARPG fan. I definitely agree, man. I absolutely do. Yeah, this is great. Zizrain, you guys don't know him. He's going to be making a lot of videos about Diablo 4. Like, this dude is a fucking god in PoE. And does, like, gauntlets. He'll probably do events in Diablo 4 if it's really popular, too. And so, yeah, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, definitely somebody who you should support.
A trip, want me to trip.